Good morning, friends. Let us start another new topic related to CNS systems. And in past 4 to 5 to 6 sections, we are seeing different types of CNS disorders relating to Parkinsonisms, anti-epilepsies, hypnotics, sedatives, and the other related CNS diseases, and the neurotransmitters which are transmitted at that particular stages, that is glutamate and neurotransmitter and GABA neurotransmitter, which is either inhibitory actions or the excitatory actions. And today we'll start with another new topic, which is actually a simple topic, but if you start going deep inside, we'll find some different types of situations where we can ask to be stopped and feel that we have to stop that particular alcohol not to spoil our health. Now let me start the topic, what is called alcohols and disulfiram. So this is a topic today. Okay, alcohol, we know that it is a it is a preparation of a malt, or it is a preparation of a sugar which has been fermented for more and more days in order to get some liquid which is having some pleasure feeling and also some quantity of ethanol or methanol inside it. And we know that alcohol is always been specified in the form of ethanol, and sometimes it may also occur in the form of ethanol. So these are two types of combinations which can be called as a alcohol. That means methanol and ethanol. More and more we need to talk about ethanol rather than the methanol. Why? Because there is only a slight difference, but there is a lot of difference when we consider it as onto the system. And today we are talking about ethanol. And ethanol, as in the based on the different types of ml, different types of percentages, these type of drinks can be divided into various types. So we can know that they are divided into beer, whiskey, gin and rum. And onto the beer, we have only about 5% out of 355 ml. And out of whiskey, we get 30% of ethanol. And later we'll come to the gin and what is the other one called as vodka, gin, rum. These are all different types of ethanol consistence, which consists of about 40 to 50%. And so depends upon the type of drink we accept, the process of administration inside the body will be more and more changeable. And first of all, we need to add a point that alcohol always in a limited quantity will give you the percentage of LDL into the LDLs and HDLs. We know that, no? LDLs are called as lethal drugs, lipoproteins which are not needed for the body, and also we have HDLs which are needed for the body. So what happens when we take a small amount, that means nearly in a less quantity ml and only one per day, just a small amount, it gives you more and more HDL reducing and also more and more HDL and also reducing of LDL. That means it is giving some favor to the body. But sometimes what happens when these type of alcohols are being increased in that percentages, going for 3 to more glasses, 3 to 4 more ounces for your daily routine, it may cause some changes in our body. And more we need to ask that they are very rude for the body and also rude for the respiratory system. And particularly we need to understand that alcohol absorption is not much dangerous, but the metabolism of alcohol is much dangerous. And if you see the procedure, alcohol, if at all, it is taken into two parts. One is absorption and the other one is called metabolism. And about 80 to 90% of alcohol what we accept will be absorbed by the gastric area, that means stomach, and that absorption is always done by the first pass metabolism. This is nothing but stating that it enters into the circulation without any passage of directly passing into the systemic circulation, not having directly related to the liver. But in this 20 to 30% of your alcohol, which what we are accepting, is done for the metabolism, and that we know that the liver is a main site of metabolism, where the ethanol has been more and more metabolized, and that metabolized may not be giving you some favor conditions, and it may release some metabolites which are very toxic to the body. And so if you start seeing the synthesis of your ethanol in our body, we can do it into two parts. That means onto the absorption part and onto the liver part, nothing but the metabolism part. Now just we'll see what is the synthesis and how it is being hacked in here, and I've just written the words over here, and it is very clear you that the form is always in the form of ethanol, right? And now this ethanol depends upon the percentages what we accept, whether it is a small percentage, whether it is a large percentage, that depends. Whatever the percentage is there, first and foremost, this ethanol is converting itself into acetaldehyde. It is converted into acetaldehyde. That means once it enters into your circulation, once it absorbs into your blood parts, that means into the stomach, it started developing into acetaldehyde, and that acetaldehyde is done by an enzyme called as alcohol dehydrogenase. What is that? We know, and that is called as ADH, nothing but the alcohol dehydrogenase. And we need to understand that the conversion of each and every step is trying to use more NAD particles and converting itself into NADH plus S. That NAD is developed into NADH and DH. So more you consume, more the production of NADH molecules plus H molecules, which is a very unfavorable condition to the body. And as we also know that more and more acidol is being dehydrated, this is a very toxic substance which is releasing inside the body, and directly it reaches to the neurons, blood circulation. That means once it reaches to the blood circulation, it reaches its part of your action of your part, that part will reaches to your neurons. And once this acetaldehyde is been releasing some toxicity into the blood and enters into the neurons, it gives you some more and more pleasure, so that it is accepting or requesting you to take much more. So after that acetaldehyde is converting into acetate molecules, and this acetate is conversion by done called as aldehyde dehydrogenase, and that is represented in the form of ALDH. This is written over here. Acetate is called acetate, and that is done by an enzyme called as aldehyde dehydrogenase, nothing but ALDH. And now this acetate molecule, once again, if it is been stopped doing some blood circulation, some of the acetyl will enter into the blood circulation and directly reaches into the neuron, and this acetate will also be helpful for the production of acetyl coenzyme A. We know that this acetyl coenzyme is a basic particle used for the glycolysis and also for the TCA cycle for the production of more energy. So what happens? This acetate is converting into acetyl coenzyme A by an enzyme called acetyl coenzyme synthase or acyl coenzyme synthase 2. So these are the two different types of enzymes which are useful for us for the production of acetyl coenzyme A. Now this acetyl coenzyme A is a particle which has to be sent into the TCA cycle, nothing but tricarboxylate, for the production of glycolysis. So once it enters into the glycolysis, sometimes it may reach to the liver, or sometimes it may reach to the fat molecules, nothing but the adipose molecules where the fat is trying to synthesize, and that is called as peripheral tissues. And particularly that particular peripheral tissues are called as fat tissues or adipose tissues. And now these adipose tissues, we know that they are the warehouse or the storehouse of cholesterol. So what happens whenever this type of more and more acetyl coenzyme has been developed, some of it enters into the TCA cycle or the glycolysis cycle for the production of glucose or production of your pyruvic acid, and but sometimes whenever it is more and more taken, it enters into the peripheral tissues, and that peripheral tissues are nothing but the adipose tissues, and that adipose tissues are developing your fat, developing your cholesterol more and more in number. So what happens when this type of cholesterol or when this fat or be increased, it creates a disease called as stenosis, and that is called as fat stenosis. And what happens when this type of fat stenosis occurs? If it occurs for the liver, it is called as cirrhosis, and it occurs with the various other tissues. This correspondingly, it is called with different other names. So what happens? The liver is the main metabolic area where this fat has been accumulated and giving you a state called as fat stenosis, nothing but the cirrhosis. And later I have given you one word here, what is called as Asian flush face syndrome. This is one of the stage where this flush face syndrome, particularly it is seen in the places of Switzerland and Spain. What happens? This estate, which is prepared from the acetaldehyde, it enters into the blood circulation, and after entering into the blood circulation, it is creating some toxic substances which is giving you a face called as Asian flush face syndrome. By this we can understand that that particular person is an addict of alcohol, and this is the mechanism. And also here I want to highlight one more point. In the conversion of acetaldehyde to acetate, it is one more conversions of NADH and HA molecules. That means more and more NADH molecules are converting themselves into NADH molecules. So you can see there are two sets of NADH molecules released at two sets. This is the first set and this is the second set. So more and more alcohol has been absorbed into the system or into your gastric system or into the absorptional cavity. That is giving you more and more NADH molecules which are released into the blood circulation. So at what we need to understand that this acetaldehyde has to be controlled so that the absorption of the ethanol has not been occurred and the person may not be able to get all the other symptoms what we are discussing earlier. And if you see that here I have given you one diagram here called as passive diffusion. So what is the passive diffusion? Passive diffusion is indicating you that the absorption of the glands, the absorption of your gastric cavity is done by the passive diffusion. That means passive diffusion is something diffusion where it is being absorbed more and more, and the rate of diffusion is much more. So if it all is diffusing in another activities like active diffusers or simple diffusion, so but it is using a diffusion called as passive diffusion. And if you see that this passive diffusion is one of the strongest diffusion where the alcohol is much more absorbed in their qualities, and so we can understand that the rate of diffusion is more and more increased once we accept more and more alcohol. So this is a synthesis how it is being happened onto the gastric cavity, and also it is having onto your gastric emptying sac. But here we can understand one that if at all there are different factors for absorption. Sometimes what happens, it depends upon the quantity, as I already told you. More the quantity, more the diffusion. And also the sex, that means the female person or the male person. They say that the male persons are getting more and more diffused of the alcohol rather than the female range. And also the type of quantity, whether it is taken for the beer, whether it is taken for the whiskey, or whether it is taken for the rum, or whether it is taken for the gin. So the different types of quantities what we are accepting may also be a factor for doing the absorption, and that it is indicated by a factor called as BAC, nothing but the alcohol consumption rate of alcohol consumption rate, and that is determined by a quality called BAC, alcohol consumption rate, which has been determined by different factors. And those factors, as already indicating you, this is a number of quantities, number of amount of we accept, the amount of ml we accept, the amount of ounces we accept, that the whether it is a female partner, whether it is a male one, whether a female person, whether he is doing early in the morning, whether he is doing at the night. So if you always see that the persons who accept this type of alcohols early in the morning or in the morning sections are less susceptible than those people who accept it in the night time. So what there are different types of factors, and we also need to be considered with different types of factors what we do when we are starting calculating how much percentage of alcohol is being accepted by the person. So that is given by the BAC. And now this is the synthesis. And as I told you before, about 80 to 90% is done in the gastric cavity, and also we have 20 to 30% which is done in the liver. That means it is directly entering into the metabolism. We know that the liver is a site of metabolism, which is doing some metabolites or releasing some metabolites which are not toxic to the body. So what happens, only about 10 to 20% has been done for the metabolism, and but that the synthesis of metabolism is indicating by MEOS. 4 words are given here. They are called as MEOS. What it is standing for? It is standing for microsomal enzyme oxidation syndrome system. So by this system, that means it is using some different types of microbial organisms or different types of enzymes to convert itself into different metabolites, and that particular system is called as MEOS, nothing but microsomal enzyme oxidation system. And now this is just different types of differentiation. Only a small difference is there, and that particular difference will be shown over here. I'm just erasing this part so that you can understand what is type of synthesis or what is the way of metabolism that is happened in the liver. So I'm just erasing only this part up to this part. And only the one change is acetaldehyde, which is done in the second step. In the first step, it is divided into 2 parts, or 2 types of metabolic activities can be seen. In that first activity, as I already know, it is called as aldehyde dehydrogenase, which is converting itself into acetate. And on the other side, we have another microsomal enzymes. Already we know that it is prepared, all the liver is prepared with cytochromal 450 enzymes. That is represented by CYP2E1. And one more thing we need to understand, that this action is done in the liver, which is done, and this action is done in the endocrine reticulum. That means the second part, the endoplasmic reticulum, and this part is done in your other, so that means SR, sarcoplasmic reticulum, and all the liver particles, which are being done there, are released into the cytoplasm. And once again, here we can understand that the aldehyde dehydrogenase is converting itself into acetate by using an enzyme called ALDH, and that particular enzyme is called aldehyde dehydrogenase. And in the second step, we have another microsomal enzyme, what is called cytochrome 450, which are different types of units are there. Microsomal 2E1, microsomal 2E2, two different types of 450 enzymes will be available for us. They are called as subunits of cytochrome 450. Here, what is the enzyme we are using? This is called as cytochrome 2E1. And here once again, it is preparing acetate. And the other process is completely equal to the before. It is dividing into acetyl coenzyme A. And here also it is preparing acetyl coenzyme A. And this acetyl coenzyme A, one of the particles enters into your TCA cycle. That means the glycolysis cycle, and the other part is directly reaching your circulation. And this circulation, once again, it reaches your peripheral tissues, nothing but the fat tissues, where it is a storage of fat, and it is converting itself into fat stenosis. So that is cirrhosis. So if you see that the cycle of alcohol is being done in 2 ways, that is, one is absorption pathway and the other one is metabolism pathway. The absorption pathway is giving you some amount of acetyl coenzyme A, and the metabolism part is giving you in 2 pathways. One pathway is through cytochrome 450 and the other one is through by alcohol dehydrogenase converting itself into acetate. The remaining process continues the same. But here we need to understand that the alcohol has to be stopped. That means the alcohol withdrawal patients or withdrawal persons who want to withdraw themselves can be continued in the both ways. That means at the stage of absorption and also at the stage of metabolism, because they are being released at the both of them. Now the drug what we are using to use for the withdrawal patients, that means the alcohol withdrawal patients, and that particular drug is called as disulfiram. This is a very important question regarding your examination purpose. They'll ask you a question, write the mechanism of action of disulfiram and indicate the treatment of alcohol withdrawal. So that is a simple question what they have. And when we are proposed to ask this question, we need to write in this representation of synthesis manner and just give you the mechanism of action, what it is doing now. Now we have to know where this disulfiram is acting and what stage it is blocking. And now this is blocking at the place of alcohol dehydrogenase. So this alcohol dehydrogenase, nothing but the ADH is being controlled by the drug of disulfiram. So what happens when this type of drug enters and blocks your here, directly this acetaldehyde, what is prepared, is enters into the blood circulation, and when it enters into the blood circulation, it stopped asking what is the purpose, what is to take another glass and what is the pleasant situation of acting another glass. That aggregation of the patient will be controlled when we start this alcohol dehydrogenase and acetaldehyde, whatever is prepared, not entering into the other purpose of other way of synthesis and directly enters into your blood. And what happens whenever the blood has been entered into acetaldehyde, that toxicity enters into the circulation. And so what happens when it enters into the circulation, it is requesting the person not to go for the desire of accepting the alcohol, and that is called as mechanism of action of disulfiram. And before starting the action of disulfiram, let me finish off what it is doing on different parts of your brain. This alcohol, once we accept, it acts on to the brain in different parts. We know that the brain is made up of different types of nucleus parts, and we know that there are different types of centers like cortex, precortex, cerebellum, medulla. We have different types of centers, and depends upon the type of center the particular action of alcohol is acting, it gives you different types of actions. And let me finish off, it is just a six point summarization how we can understand the alcoholic situation acting on the brain. And now here I have divided into, the brain is being divided into different parts. And so the first part is called as cortex, and we know that the cortex is the topmost area, that means the uppermost of the brain, and this is indicated by small points over here. And we always know that the cortex is a center for the thinking and center for the speech. So what happens when alcohol is acting directly onto the cortex center, it makes the person not to think and not to speak. So that particular area will be disturbed with two activities. One is thinking and the other one is speech. So by the person who accept more and more and daily, taking with more than 3 to 4 ounces. So that particular person, after accepting that particular ml, that means more than 340 to 400 ml or more than 0.5% of ml, when it is desired quality is equal to death or 0.05 is equal to death, which is giving you the area of cortex, giving you two places. What is that? It is stopping your speech and also it is stopping your thinking area. That means the person may not be think and the person may not be talk with much more ability. And now we'll go for another here. I've indicated 2 points over here and I'm doing it once more with blue or black so you can understand. And these two centers are called as amygdala. This is one word, and the other one is called as nucleus accumbens. So these are the two areas where we can see nucleus accumbens and also amygdala. And what are these two particular centers? These two particular centers are very favorable for the acting as reward points to the body. So what is the reward point? What it is giving? When we accept these 2 points or these two nucleuses are giving you 2 points. What is the desire to have some relaxation or also desire to have one more. That means it is giving you the pleasant feeling so that the person wants to accept one more glass. And so that is the reason why the person who starts may not to able to control at one position. It wants the navigation for another glass, another ml or another ounce. This is the reason why it is acting on amygdala and nucleus accumbens. This is the second area. And now we'll go for the third, which is dark in black. This is called as precortex area. Precortex area. This precortex area is the area for behavioral inhibition. That means the person may not have any particular good behavior to act on. He may misbehave. That means he may not be known of consciousness what he is doing. So this is disturb the behavioral inhibition center. So the behavioral of a particular person will be inhibited less and less. And now you have another place what is called as medulla. And this medulla, we know that medulla and cerebellum both are there. And this cerebellum is an area which is used for respiration, which is used for temperature, which is used for more other activities, motor activities. So what happens when it is acting on the cerebellum? What it is do? It is directly making the person not to have the mood, and also it is controlling your body temperature. That means he'll feel like warmthness of the body because of the subcutaneous layers. The feeling of warmthness will be available, and that person will go for the relaxation. And also it is also controlling your sleep. That means the person may not be able to sleep much more. If at all he sleeps more, but he'll go on awaking for every 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, this is the only main reason why it is acting on the cerebellum. This is a particular reason. So the person may be disturbed with his sleep, with his behavior of mood, and also behavior of your the respiration. And here now we'll go for the medulla area. This medulla area is a motor area which is controlling your walking sense. That is what the senses of muscular contraction centers, the centers of adenosine, and also the centers for adrenaline, and also the centers for NTH3. These are the serotonin which is available in the medulla. And we know that 5-HT is always available for the anorexia. That means the person may not be having some feeling of hungry, and also the feeling of mood, behavioral mood. So this type of symptoms can be seen in when your alcohol is acting on medulla. And now we'll come to the another center, what is called as hypothalamus region. And this hypothalamus region is one of the region where different types of pituitary gland is being enclosed, and so different types of hormones are released, particularly the endocrine hormones. We know that there are different types of endocrine hormones related to progesterone, related to oxytocin, related to egesterone. So what happens whenever this type of alcohol is acting onto this particular hypothalamus region, the person will have a sexual arousal. That means he feel having a desire of having some sex. But what happens? He will not have the ability to perform the sex. But he will be in the stage of, that the desire of sex will be available, but the percentage of involvement into the action of your sex will not be available. So the engagement of the sex is not available. So it is acting on this particular hypothalamus region. It is giving you different types of activities. So this is the way how the alcohol is being acting onto the different purposes of brain. And the remaining part we'll do tomorrow, acting on the mechanism of action of disulfiram. So this is a next part, we'll cover the other part. And as we know that we have to go on for the subscription of the channel, and this subscription of the channel will give you more and more videos onto the thing what I've been giving you in the future classes. And this is for today. Bye for now.